Hello.
What is up, space pirates? This is your Admiral, the charmingly churlish Dr. Disaster, and the CHUDS have seen some major victories over the past year or so. Take Dragon Age the Veilguard as an example, chock full of they-them propaganda. How sweet was it to see game journalist Jason Schreier post this, bragging about that game hitting the top of the Steam charts, only to feel forced to delete it in a matter of days.
I'm so embarrassed. I wish everybody else was dead.
Or take a look at Assassin's Creed Shadows, with their weird portrayal of Yasuke as a samurai. All of the game journalists did everything in their power to try to talk that game up and to parrot all of the talking points from Ubisoft, but it didn't work. Considering its pedigree and its budget, the game flopped miserably.
Things like this happen. That is what life is all about. Disappointment and failure, so get used to it.
As I said, there have been some pretty big and blatant victories in the past few years as we push back against the leftist messaging and the corporate slop. But one of the major battles has not gone all our own way. It is a small win, but not a clean win. Of course, I'm talking about Ghost of Yotei.
That is one big pile of shit.
For as much as you and I might think that the game was a turd, there were plenty of people who bought it and played it, and Sony and Sucker Punch made money on the game, due in large part to the fact that they impressively kept their budget reasonable. But we have some updated sales numbers for the game from Grums over on X, whose source has been fairly spot on over the past few months, and his numbers highlight the fact that Ghost of Yotei, despite being a sequel to a very successful and popular game, is actually significantly behind its predecessor in terms of raw sales numbers. And this is a sign that yes, the gamer chuds have actually had a significant effect on the sales outcomes for this game.
God! I did not see that coming!
Alright, me hearties, make sure that you hit the like button on this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I've had a lot of people tell me that they have been unwillingly unsubscribed to the channel. Almost every day I hear from someone who says they didn't believe me when I talked about this phenomenon, but then they noticed that they themselves were unsubbed from the channel. I don't know why it happens, but I do hear it a lot, so look into that. I will be making this portion of my videos skippable by making it into a chapter on the video timeline, but I do need to keep on saying this because the amount of people telling me it happens to them is unbelievable. Anyways, let's dive on in to this Ghost of Yotei situation. Now, as I said before, we have some updated sales figures from Grums on X. His source was completely spot on with its figures about a month or so ago. You might remember that Alinea Analytics released some sales numbers for the game, and the game journalists and shills were celebrating like crazy, using the data without context and claiming that they got a clean win and that the CHUD boycott, which, to be clear, I don't think the term boycott really applies. We're not so organized as to call something that we do a boycott, but whatever. Anyhow, they triumphantly claimed that the boycott had failed. But unfortunately for them, we had already seen these numbers due to posts like this from Grums and from some other intrepid accounts on X who had been tracking the sales figures for this game. We had already parsed through the data and knew what it all meant. With all that in mind, here is the post from X that Grums just put out. It says here, "I have updated info on Ghost of Yotei sales after Black Friday. The good news? Yotei has sold over 4 million units. The bad news? It is underselling Tsushima by 20%. Reminder, I was dead on accurate with my sources' numbers, proven 100% correct before. I trust these numbers, and once again, I will reiterate that yes, Grum's has a track record on this game of being completely correct. So, with that in mind, if Yotei has sold around 4 million units and is 20% behind Tsushima in the same time frame of approximately 2 months, then that means Tsushima sold about 5 million copies. But you want to know something that is really crazy? As Grums noted in his post, Yotei will have gotten a bit of a bump from Black Friday sales, but Ghost of Tsushima was released in July, and the summer is generally a low point in game sales for the year, so even with the advantage of Black Friday, Ghost of Yotei was unable to keep up with Tsushima. And this is a damning fact for a game like this. I know that the shills for PlayStation and for Ghost of Yotei always love to bring up install base and that sort of thing as if it is a blanket excuse for this game to perform worse than its predecessor, but the fact that the PS5 is less popular than the PS4 is not some impenetrable defense, because let's face it, the sort of people who go out and buy a game like this, especially right away when it releases, are going to be the hardcore gamers and PlayStation diehards, and I'm going to go out on a limb and guess that those people already own the newest PlayStation. The people who haven't upgraded yet are going to be the casual family of gamers who buy the new Madden game every once in a while, or who buy the newest Call of Duty game every year for little Timmy. But those families haven't been given a reason to upgrade yet, because most of the games that they want to play are being still released on the PS4. Suffice to say, these are not the people who are going to buy Ghost of Yotei anyhow. But you want to know what is really relevant when looking at the sales data for this game? The fact that sequels to super successful games generally always outsell the previous game, unless they've done something to annoy the fan base. I've talked about this before, but let's go through some examples. The original Uncharted sold just under 5 million units, and Uncharted 2 ended up selling 6.5 million copies. The original Halo sold 5 million copies, and then the follow-up, Halo 2, ended up selling about 8.5 million copies. The original Fable sold 3 million units, and then the sequel ended up selling 5 million. All of those are console exclusives too, just like Ghost of Yotei, so we really are comparing apples to apples here. Typically speaking, unless there is a failure in marketing or something like that, a second game in a series outsells the original. And the reason for that is fairly obvious. You have a built-in audience. An original game has to work to build an audience, but a sequel has people who are already interested in checking the game out, word of mouth spreads, and people who might have only played the original game at a buddy's house or bought it secondhand at a game store or something like that, now they are coming out and buying up the second game as soon as it releases. The only reason that a sequel would fail to reach the same numbers of the previous game is if a part of the audience has been abandoned, and that is precisely what we have going on with Yotei. There were a variety of reasons why a bunch of us did not want to play this game, so instead of what would likely have been around 6 or maybe even 7 million units sold by now already for Ghost of Yotei, if it had been a proper sequel to the original game that everyone wanted to play, they are instead sitting at 4 million. Now, it is true that they have already made a shitload of money on this game, which is why I keep saying that this is not a clean win. They only spent about $60 million developing this game, which is hard to believe, but that is what is reported, and with 4 million units sold, Sony has raked in around $280 million on Ghost of Yotei. But the thing is, Sony and Sucker Punch knows what we know, which is why they are being extremely tight-lipped when it comes to their sales numbers. Ghost of Tsushima's sales figures were trumpeted by Sony about a week after release, but they still haven't announced anything for this game, and the question is, why? And also, Sucker Punch, who only works on one game at a time, they announced that they are looking to move away from the Ghost of series for now. Rumor is that they are looking at another Sly Cooper game or something like that, but once again, I ask, why? If sales for Yotei are so good, and if the so-called boycott had zero effect, why not proudly release the sales numbers and make another of these games? After all, it's basically like printing money, right? Well, I think the answer is complicated, but Sony realizes that they should have sold more units. They expected to sell more, and they want the controversy to simmer down, which is wise. But I'm gonna leave it there. What do you make of all this? Why hasn't Sony released the numbers? And why is Sucker Punch looking to make something other than another Ghost game? Drop your thoughts into the comment section below, and we will talk there. Thanks for watching me, Hearties. If you haven't already, your Admiral is inviting you to subscribe to the channel and become a part of the crew. Life as a space pirate may not be glamorous, but there's always plenty of booty.